Hello, and welcome to Pillars of Eternity. Let's enter this laboratory.
Slow and silent.
I'll tinker with that. What could go wrong?
Yes,
All
please.
done.
Let's take a look. Ravenwing. Legend tell of a druid wise and powerful, who traveled accompanied by a flock of ravens. In battle, the druid will assail his enemies with a mace, while the ravens descended in a chaotic swarm, distracting and flanking his foe. Years of coordinated attacks and the druid's lingering magic, he said to have been gifted with mace with an enchantment that lent the wielder a similar gift. The mace is finely wrought and lightweight, making it marvelable. If you are very resistant against direct attacks against a distracted opponent, however, a single blow often provides quite a significant. Okay, we damage when sneaking. Do we know this enchantment? It is exceptional. Interesting. Yeah, you can have that.
I'll stay out of sight.
Yes, please do.
I can do that. All done.
Blade Golan. Blade Golan, Wolfheart, is said to have been blessed by the Lord of Hunt himself, a human hunter showing skill with a bow and arrow beyond any before him. Seeing caught Gawain's attention one day, Gawain proposed a bargain. If the hunter could best him in a hunting contest, Gawain would present her with an armor that would bestow upon her the power of a wolf. For a week both hunters attacked their respective quarry, through the woods. When the contest was ended, the hunter had felled the most game. True to his word, Gawain presented her with Wolfheart, which gave the crafty and elusive nature of its namesake. Okay, what do you do actually? Stun duration, knockdown duration, defense while stunned, defense while prone. That's okay. Okay. It doesn't seem like there is anything else in here. Let's pick with Azo. A round-faced bowing man turned to me. His upper lip was pulled upwards slightly by a pointed nose, exposing his upper teeth when he scowled.
What is the meaning of this?
Ethelmore told me you're not supposed to be doing any experiments here. Well, yes, Ethelmore hasn't done much good for anybody since he has his soul moved to initiate subject, so I fail to see why I should let that sway me. If animmonsters all followed the commands of their leaders, where would we be? We'd all be at backward and willful ignorant of recreants. We would know nothing about life or death or even ourselves. We would be lost in the dark with no clue as to why. I never thought I'd find myself agreeing with the statue, but Arian's right about this fellow at least. How easily ambition masquerades as produce. I'll bet he's fooled even himself. It seems to me we're still in the dark.
Is that a reason to stop trying? Shall we remain in the dark until the end of time and have the last breath of the last person alive be breathed in ignorance? The gods want us to know. The clues are all around us. In understanding these truths, we honor their creation.
Sure. Yliel has touched this one, Harvest chipped from behind you before adding with a whisper, though I get the feeling he doesn't know. He nodded to Azu, touching his eye patch in salute. If we only studied the easy problems, we'd accomplish little and deserve even less.
Who will solve Widewen's legacy? Some church? Some warrior? It will be an animancer, or it will be no one at all.
I heard you were demoted. Tell me about that. Seems like a very funny story. Azo's nostril flared and bared his upper teeth more broadly. That's none of your concern. Did one of the others put you up to this, Aldmer? That smug weasel? Things went wrong. Everything I know. I'll never know, okay? Things went wrong. Everything. I don't know how. I'll never know. He spit on the floor, as if to remove a bitter taste from his mouth. Have you tried experiments on any other subjects? I have, yes. No point in lying about it. Now that Eldmore's involved, I asked for volunteers from the patients, and few brave souls came forward. I was very close to one time of a breakthrough. They understood that. They understood their sacrifices would mean something. I want access to the North Wind. Out of the questions. These patients are isolated for a reason. I've seen your records. I know what you're doing with them.
Those are private. You have no right.
Shut up. He balled up his fist and digged his teeth into an index finger, a groaning simmering beneath his breath, and deep scowl compassing his face.
Fine. Speak to them for all the good it'll do you. I'm sure the discussions will be fascinating.
He pulled a heavy key out of his pocket and nearly slammed it down on the floor before handing it to me.
I'm on the trail.
Fool. Okay, I think that's the West Wing. Or at least I think so. A flesh construct. Is this my face? Tell me! Thundering sky, rain of blood. Innocence must drown. These men have the look in his eyes of a hunted animal, and at the approach he staggered backwards to the far corner of his cell, halfway appearing, as though he would climb the walls if it would get him further away from me. He cried out, a bizarre primal utterance like nothing I've heard before. You can't hide from me, Linden Sky Spy. Ran looked at you blankly. It is unclear whether he understood me or not. His panic has momentarily subsided. He opened his mouth to speak, but the words that came out are half-formed, as though his tongue were cut out. They are impossible for you to describe, if indeed they were words at all. Those animances did something to him. You can see what comes out of this mumbling. Fariel said you were being treated by Kandman Azo. He looked at me with uncertainty. Slowly, tenaciously, he stepped closer to the front of his cell, and as he did, for the first time I could perceive his cell within the can. It is misshapen, as though maimed by some jagged instrument, and large expanse has been roped out entirely. I found no barriers of resistance. If I wanted to, I could look further into his cell. Let's take a look then. I projected out. The main cell in front of me, merging with it, its confusion and fear becoming my own. It has whisks me into the depths. I am in a cell. A key turns. The door cracks open on neglecting hinges. Though thoughts come to me in waves, incomplete, broken, fearful. Standing at the door is a round-butted man. His upper teeth and pointed nose remind me of a rat. He beckoned apologetic. You don't want to go, anything else. If you mind a single word, and the word is no, but it dissolves before it reaches your lips. You press against the back wall, cornered. You cried out. In darkness, I fight against unseen restraints. I cannot move my arms or legs. The man walked into the room carrying a lighted candle. its meager flame casting long shadow across books and machinery. Scabs bind my arms and legs. Cold mercosaucuses are crowned of your back and the breadth of your chest. The man's sorry. He's in need of new material. Bro. They dismantled his work, and he needed another source. He needed to show them that he was right. He thanked me. Then he turned the knob, and I felt myself being on a crack of within, and I could feel pieces of me torn away, like having my insides chewed by a horde of rats. And I was screaming, a scream I can barely hear. Continue searching. Another night. Heavy footsteps outside the door coming for you. You look through a slit of your door. The flesh giant, an artificial being just outside, but facing left, facing at the end of the hall. The boy there. The boy looks with interest at the giant, then collapses to the floor like a shed snakeskin. The giant covers of the moment, then rights itself, turns away, and leaves. The cop from game so. Grant looked at me, still wide-eyed, but somehow more present. He nodded at me, then walked back to the endless cell. Well, that was fun. Well, someone's in the luxurious cell. I mean, you had place for 3 more cells here, but I guess 1 is enough. A willowy, absolute boy stands in the center of the cell, gawkish and stop-shouted. He stared straight ahead. The occasional blink is only movement, and it is unclear whether it registers my presence at all behind his glassy doll-like eyes. In the state, the barrier between my soul and his are thin and porous, easily bypassed if I should wish it. And so I reached out. As I closed my eyes and edged forward towards the boy's soul, and I neared, and a sudden malice came out over me. I am cold and warm all at once, sweating and shivering and stirring for bread, as I did on the caravan journey. The soul I approached is the wrong one, a parasitic plant that straggles in host. It is predatory and pilotless, and I have crossed the path with it before. Too late does it occur to you to retreat, and already I felt myself pulling into some interminable abyss of thought and memory. I am standing in a cell now, and some cell it is, in a centrium. The halls are moonlit and empty, and I am waiting. At the far end of the ward, the door opens, revealing a flesh comb in silhouette beneath the stone archway. It made an unusual route at the same stops every time it misgotten child or deposed creators. When the construct is close to the coil, I myself up and spring forward, passing out the boy's body, and though it were membranes, I could sense his body behind me, collapsing to the floor, a puppet whose strings were cut. I am rushing towards the golem now, bodiless of a gust of wind. Quickly I thought to myself, and I felt the strain hemorrhaging from the cell as I darted forward. Makeshift abomination. I passed into the golem's shell and overtook the soul implemented within, encircling it, suppressing it, and containing it with a new vessel. I am strong again. I stepped heavily-footed down the corridor, unheeded by the other constructs, and scrutinized only by the wary, untrustworthy eyes of the mad, coming at the last of the office filled with books and scribble papers, and the prevalent implements of animancy. I set my oversized hand upon a large machine, a nest of goblet and tubes and coils in the center of the room, and I went to work, bending wires and uttering allegiance. My surroundings were pulled past me, or perhaps I was pulling past them, and they dissolved into blur. When they settled into a place again, I am upright and a clear day, standing in front of a crowd stacked high above on the straight stairs of an amphitheater. I am acting for the crowd, standing deliberately, still, but this is no play. A bowed man with rodent-like features is stepping into the machine, and when he tampered with, I saw my arms for the first time short and fleshy, unmistakably those of a little girl, but the body is not truly mine. My mind still holds the same determination and the same heartbreakness as before. The body itself is cold and vicious. Unlike the others, this one has no soul of its own. The man spoke, and the crowd applauded with enthusiasm worthy of a hero entrance. "Bear witness," he said, as he pulled the lever. The machine shivered and sparked, and a breath of sweat rolled down the side of the man's brow. The crowd's apprehension quickly gave way to awe and a cynical globe, filled with radiant mist, and cast the entire theater aglow. He opened the valve, and the glow crawled through the tube, a long gullet of copper wiring, and ran to the set electrocytes beneath my armpits. I felt nothing when it reached me, as it should be, for I have been leading his work astray, periodically, for some time, altering the notes and setting the playing puppeteer for the hollow-born. But I make it look how people would expect it to look when the body is infused with the soul. In a moment the machine goes dark and the man unstraps me, eyeing me with a scientific concern. He looked back to the crowd. "Behold," he said, but there is obvious hesitation in his voice. Slowly I took a fluttering step forward, then another, and another. I looked on the man, giving him the eye contact with which no hollow-born is capable of, and the crowd gasped. The man looked relieved. "How do you feel?" he asked. At the volume meant for a crowd, and this is the moment, the top of your lungs. I let out a piercing shriek, and the man came towards me, his hand outstretched, but I ran to the other way, back to the machine. With all my strength I drove my head into the crystal globe, and it shattered, startling my head with warm blood. I drove my head down onto the surface and the machine again and again, drawing panic screams from the crowd, and by the time the man reached me, my body was already ceased properly functioning, and merely twitched on the cold ground. Satisfied, I departed the corpse in search of another unsuspecting heart. Who could put this fate in animancy now? I see. It's sabotage you're after. You want to start a war. You know, you should have asked for my help. There is nothing better I like to do than stir up chaos in a realm filled with order. I was pulled again from my surroundings, transcending the boundaries of the memories and lifetimes, deeper and deeper past betrayals and murders and lie upon lie that formed a thick webbing of plots beyond mortal comprehension. I settled at last on a room I have seen before, expensive with tall device encircling another monolith in the center. The room is filled with people, and the people all look at the device. I was yanked suddenly back to reality, and the once catatonic boy in the cell is looking directly at me, appraising and calculating. There was no mistake now that this soul of the man who caused my awakening, that grazed me from the borrowed husk. You've made me into a watcher. I need you to undo this. Is that so? He made no effort to hide his disinterest, but he continued to search my eyes. He made a slight grunting noise, and his eyes softened for an instant, and it seemed for that moment that he recognized me. He opened his mouth to speak, then seemed to think better of what he was about to say. His jaw tightened. I know your look, your hunger for answers that elude you. It guns on your soul, it absorbs your reason for being. You are like everyone. I will help you let go. He dodged backwards with a staggering grace, putting himself out of reach. On his face there is no malice, only a disappointment of a farmer putting down a sick animal. Then suddenly he slumped forward. Okay, everyone inside. Go inside. Move away from the door. Now block their path. Make sure no one passes through here. Everyone. Good shot there, Intomac. Bizarre. I need you to protect our fight. Intomac. Can you reach him? Don't worry if you can't. Ooh, nice hit.
Die!
Forget about him. Focus on this mage right there.
Beyond seek.
Let's terrify them. Let's see if this actually works. 4 hits. Good. So, those flesh constructs can know fear.
Die!
Very good, Itomak. Move over here, attack him, and use some.
Understood.
Focus on him.
Understood.
Well done, everyone. Well done indeed.
I shall be discreet.
Right, actually, I'm gonna look for secrets because we haven't been in this area before. No secrets have found us. Okay. Nothing, really. The bucket reeks of offal. Oh, this bucket is filled with gold, eh? Makes sense. The chain is grown with added weight. Cross and bite marks at the edge of the coat. Everyone over there. Good hit there. Itomak, take him down.
Need something?
Itomak, take him out. You go over there.
Yeah?
Focus on this one. And you're fast.
I'll take a look.
Okay, go this way. Again, search for secrets. A flesh construct.
Hey. Hey. Die!
So, a flesh construct. Okay.
That's for my friends.
Nice hit.
Dead on.
There were wits here. What happened to them?
That's it!
Dead on. I'm here.
Okay. Caedmon Azel. What have you done? You've been experimenting on patients against their will, mangling their souls. I have witnessed it with my own eyes. Azel's faith drained with what little cover it had. How could you possibly? Look, it had to be done. Edelmore and the others, they took everything from me, everything I was. This close. I had to know where I failed and why. Imagine the value if I'd succeeded. I had something that could make all the Hellborn infants into something like a real person. And with a few more patrons and a few years research, who knows? No one has come this close with legacy. It's why I have to continue, why I have to risk everything here, working in secret. It's why you have to lie to Edelmar. For me. Tell him you cleared me of all suspicions. I am going to expose you for what you are.
Then I can't let you get in my way either.
I just killed every single one of your flesh constructs. Do you honestly believe you stand a chance? Look at that, I have a flaming sword. I'm close to a breakthrough. I have found an empty source of essence now, and the vassals have responded positively to infusion with the proxy. Human trails are the next logical course. Unlogical. So, value enchantment, item type. Don't remember which note it was. For Vanos Travels. Okay, I know this one. A letter home. Okay. Is it quest items? Reply. I request more copper, trading for my next experiment. Do not relinquish it from the Centiner's store. I don't have the time to deal with the head warden. Torque of Defiance. Amulets more often. Yeah. Defense against child confusion. Place it in the stash. And let's get out of here. Pretty sure there were wicks here. The flesh construct told me. Now that I mind not fighting them, it's just kind of weird. That's all. Okay. Yeah, sure, let's get out of here. I'm getting out of here. It's not safe anymore.
I shall be discreet.
Oh, that was fun. I don't know what happened. Head Warden Ethimas. What the blazes happened down there? You were given permission to ask questions. It's complicated. A patient of yours, Uzgrik, was working for the Linden Key, only without knowing it. Head Warden Etmore. You finish your explanation and Edmore breaks his silence. I have read accounts of people in history who could do that, what you described. The accounts are few and brief and never reliable. Some go as far to suggest that they are all the same person. If truly such a person was here amongst us, plotting our ruin, would that I had body again, and could be part of some real use of our time of need, I fear that the future may hold this. I am grateful you were able to dispatch the threat before there was a loss of innocent life. Actually, there were few people who died. We very nearly had another scandal on our hands. What of Azel? What part did the experience play in this catastrophe? I confronted Azel. I was forced to kill him. Such a waste. There was none more gifted worker here. In time I had hoped to inhabit his image, but a mind like his is full of ideas, leave little room for patience. I would inquire more into this, but in truth you have done this institution a favor. Were his transgressions ever to reach the public, they would have been a terrible uproar. I was blind to have trusted him a second time. His tone took an ominous quality, but reverberated all around me. I trust you will be more cautious in the future.
Gods keep you.
Well, that was interesting.
Welcome.
Have you come to sit in? What does that even mean? A bald man with crooked nose gestured in demonstration over the still body of a patient before a small gathering of interested onlookers. Filling my gaze, he paused his discussion. What do you do here? Close as we are to the Glenfathian wilds, we get number of Biowick maimings every year, survivors dealing with complicated form of exposure. This fellow here is a severe case. His essence is a mere whisper of what it was. I'm early in my research, only beginning to understand how they look. But in time, I hope to find a way to protect people from the storm's effect. Okay. Because I might be able to speak with this guy. Let's get out of here. Have to check the constructs later. Underneath the heritage, the acolyte showed me a vision of an ancient tower in the derelict district at Defiance Bay. There was a strange man in a tower, working on some kind of machine. I also saw a woman with a scar over her heart. I don't know where she is, but I suspect that I hold the key to whatever happened to her. You know where she is, dude. You spoke with her. Durgan's battery. A letter has arrived at the Cat Nua addressing to its new ruler. The steward believes it may present an interesting opportunity. We will see.
Hello!
Beg your pardon, I have a message for you. You are summoned to Harrod House, where Lady Webb wishes to meet with you soon as possible. They say that an ancient spider spinning her nets throughout the city. If she wishes to see you, that either body very well or very ill. Tell me about Lady Webb. Do you not know of Lady Webb? Well, no one's seen her except a long time. She is a mistress of Durin Row. Has been for as long as anyone can remember. He paused, eyeing passionately by suspicion. Quietly he continued. She's supposed to be old, older than anybody, and she never leaves her room. Some say she wasted away and she just a pile of bones kept unmounted by dark magic. And what is Dunrid's Row? We read a book about that. No one exactly knows what it is. She's still at it, best anyone can tell, learning things, keeping us safe, pulling the strings behind the throne. It said, okay, has Ring of Cyphers doing her bidding, telling her everything that goes on. You do wrong in the country. Before you go asking the gods for forgiveness, best you ask Lady Webb first. Tell me about Dunrin Row. A whole mess of ciphers run by House Haldred. They make their business to keep the peace, but they don't like to see them to it. Problem is the city have way of going a way of their own, and when that happens, you can make a pretty good guess as to why. How did you know where to find me? Well, it's Lady Webb. She knows everything. And where is the Harbord House? It's just over there, my lord, southwest of corner of Blackenbury. You'll find the lady upstairs. Let's go talk to her. Older robed man. As I neared the operation, I was overcome with sudden by a powerful anesthesia that set like a stone in my stomach. The feeling is not quite real. The recollection of an emotion rather than the emotion itself. It wretched me and measured mine instead, nevertheless. The operation grew intense, a look of concerned pain across its face.
The other missionaries say you have been neglectful of your duties.
They lie.
They speak out of concern for you. Now tell me, is there something to their concerns?
The pain in my stomach deepened, and I felt for a moment as though I was about to be sick. My mouth was gone dry. I wish to leave the Order. The man folded his fingers together and pressed them to his mouth, thoughtful.
You have been an apt student, and your convictions have inspired those around you. May I ask what has changed to make you feel this way?
I've done something unforgivable. The apparition exhaled slowly, its lips pressed together, a sympathetic rapport in his eyes. It placed its hand on my shoulder.
I see. And you would cast yourself out, is that it?
What I've done, no god would have me now.
If you believe that, then I have failed you as a teacher. There are many gods so that all people are looked after, no matter who they are or what they've done.
Oh yeah, God forgives, other people don't.
The only ones who need fear anything are those who abandon their gods, thinking all is lost. But for those who beg help and forgiveness, the gods always provide.
Only for the deserving.
I will tell you the truth. There may be some among the gods who would see you punished. But after punishment comes absolution, redemption. Whatever stain there is upon your soul, the gods can wash it clean. But you must dedicate yourself to them in return. That is what makes one deserving. Will you return the faith they put in you?
The knot in my stomach seems to loosen all at once. The anxiety of replaced with something else entirely, something warm and smoothing, and it somehow I knew I could never repay. As the vision faded, I started to become cognizant of the many odd looks aimed in my direction. My last response echoed in my mind. I will. Let's get out of here. Lady Webb will see you now. Of course she will.
I'll see what I can find. I'll tinker with that. What could go wrong?
Fine hunting bow. I honestly don't need it. The woman clenched a thick stack of parchment with sparingly wrinkled fingers, their flesh stretched thin to near translucence with extreme age. A gossamer veil over her pale blue veins, ink splotched and the candles burned dot and struggled her hands like quieter patterns. After some great inscription truth, she does not look up to me.
So, the messenger conveyed my summons. A miracle that would make the reincarnation of Aethys look like a child's cantrip, surely. It doesn't draw the most inspired minds, messaging. They failed me so many times of late, I nearly sent a cipher after you instead. So this is the Watcher who took over Cad Noir. Oh, don't look so surprised. It isn't an attractive expression. I wouldn't be where I am for long if I let details like that escape me.
I'm not surprised. I've been there for a month now. Alan floaned, scratching his back and the neck. So, it's true. Those spies of hers don't miss too much. Alan, shut up.
And this fiasco in the sanitarium that you seem to have gotten yourself into the middle of. What in blazes possessed you to stir that nest of trouble?
It was a personal matter.
A personal matter that has you tracing the footsteps of the leaden key. Must be some problem you have. You're not the only one with an interest in their recent activities. I've lost 4 ciphers this year alone trying to get someone inside their ranks. As it is, we only have our suspicions about who is in the group and what they intend. Which I suppose means we have much in common with them. I asked you here because I wanted to know what your interest was in all of this. I thought perhaps we might help each other. Why are you looking for the leaden key?
One of their members caused my soul to awaken. I need them to reverse it. She closed her eyes, and the light flickered. Then her face went still, and her mouth parted, little more than a silver, and hand briefly dropped open, spilling some of her parchment on the ground. The pages ruffled around her legs, like leaves of a dying tree. Her fleshy eyelid peeled back, and her gaze was immediately upon me.
The gods are cruel, I'm afraid. The man you seek is Theos Ix Arcanon, Grand Master of the Leaden Key. One of the most elusive and dangerous men Eora has ever known.
And what can you tell me about this Theos?
More than most, though very few would know so much as his name. And there is no way of knowing how much of what I've read is true. The Leaden Key dates back more than 2,000 years. If rumors are to be believed, Theos was the one who created it.
I see. And where might one find this Theos?
What scraps of evidence exist suggest that he has died many times, only to be reborn each time exactly the same man. Awakened during adolescence with all the knowledge and experience of all his lifetimes. The plots he orchestrates sometimes take hundreds of years to bear fruit. Needless to say, this is not the natural order of things. But he is said to be one of Woodica's favored, and that old bat was never one to let rules get in the way of favoritism. That may also explain another supposed gift of his. His body is no boundary to his soul, and he is known to take possession of others, if their souls are weak enough. Often it is for elaborate deceptions, but sometimes he simply forces them to kill themselves. He is not known for his generous supply of pity. He is also not one to show himself in any but their most critical matters. If he has directly involved himself in whatever the group plots now, it may be your only chance to find him. And once you do find him, if you can find him, I would not hold my hopes too high if I were you. He is a driven, single-minded man. He will not have the slightest concern for your problems.
What else do you know about the Leaden Key?
Precious little, I'm afraid. You may know much of it already. No one member knows the identity of more than a handful of other members. They are kept in the dark of missions they are not involved in, or sometimes of those they are involved in. They exist to hide secrets they themselves don't know, if you can imagine how gullible someone must be for that to appeal. Despite that, they are very good at what they do, owing much to their founder, who will take matters into his own hands when necessary, and he does not fail.
And how do you know so much about Theos?
The same way I come by all my knowledge. Exhaustive research, spying, bribery, perhaps some less savory measures. Whatever the knowledge demands, I pay in full. There is nothing of greater value. Unfortunately, with Theos, there is also nothing more scarce. He has covered his tracks far too well. His manipulations of the course of history are lost to time now, though I believe they were many.
Very well.
Yes?
Tell me about Dunrin Row.
All the things there are to know in this world, and you ask me about work. Deerwood is a rebel country. Conflict is in its blood. If you think a few guards posted in our cities keep chaos at bay, you are very new to town indeed. We are Deerwood's cipher investigators, of course. But what we really are is its last barrier against anarchy. People are more at ease when they believe they are watched over by someone more enlightened than they are. It pacifies them. So that is the image we foster.
Huh.
And we do try to be enlightened for their sake. The knowledge we gather here is Deerwood's standing army in many ways. We learn what's vital and we act on it while Deerwood sleeps, blissfully unaware of the terrifying truths all around them. I wish I could tell people the things I know sometimes. But the truth is, I don't think many of them could bear it.
Is there a Lord Webb?
There was.
Please tell me about him.
He believed in dying with dignity. He was old-fashioned that way, my husband. We saw the world very differently, he and I. But he was good to me while he lasted.
How old are you? She gave me a half-hearted grasp and covered her mouth with her crumpled fingers. You wicked man. Where are your manners? Were you raised without a shred of decency?
I lost count ages ago. Such a strange thing to celebrate, getting closer to death. Oh, I've had my share of work done to prolong my existence, if that's what you're wondering. I'm not ashamed of it. I'm not done here. There are things I still wish to learn. And I'll be the effigy if I let Bereth carry me off before I'm through.
Okay. So, this is your office. Do you also sleep here without allowing anyone to enter?
There was a time when I considered enlisting the theorems of Pondgrum to extend my life indefinitely. I found the thought of devouring my political enemies to sustain my own life greatly appealing. I must have gone soft with age.
How did you come to be here?
Me? I started this place. In a different time, under a different duke. I impressed the Duke with my research and my work ethic, and he became possessed of the notion that I would be ideal to lead a secret network of gifted investigators. I don't know how such an idea got into his head.
Are you a cipher?
If you are hoping I can look at your hand and tell you whom you should marry, you can just wipe that notion from your mind. I do not know what will happen tomorrow. That is what I pay spies for. Being a cipher is not unlike being a watcher. You notice more about what is already there. Many can hold an object and know where it's been, or peer into the thoughts of people around them. They can also sometimes affect those thoughts, but that would be unethical, of course. A tiny, talented few pick up so much about the world around them, they can get images of things to come, but these are fleeting and unreliable.
You said you don't know what will happen tomorrow.
Who said I was talented? I don't. Least not that I can trust. And with me, it's only ever about one thing anyway.
That's all I needed to know. Is there something you wish from me?
Keep me informed. The Leaden Key has been busy lately, and that is distressing news. I can only guess as to what they intend. You seem to have a knack for turning the stones they've crawled beneath. Keep turning them. Dunreed Row will not stop you. Whatever it is they're up to, figuring it out will be of great use to both of us. In your case, it will surely point you to Theos. In return, I will share our knowledge with you as we learn it, and provide you with what assistance I can.
Very well.
If you find your trail has run cold, come to me with whatever you have. There is much I may be able to do for you.
Oh, perhaps I do have some information for the Linden Keys operations.
Well, let's hear it.
I found Tiles in the Blackenberry Sanctuary, imprisoned as a patient. He was trying to damage the public's opinion of animancy.
Forgive me, it is unlike Theos to leave witnesses. He must be furious. He did not aid you as you'd hoped, I take it? Well, take heart. With any luck, when he has finished his business, he will surely come and find you again, if only to kill you while you sleep.
Well, I'm gonna look forward to that.
This news of yours makes sense, of course. To dabble in animancy is to puzzle over the secrets of the gods. This would not be the Leaden Key's first action against it. But if this is connected to their other activities, we may be in for something on a much larger scale. If we can learn more about their goals and methods, perhaps we can get the palace behind us. With Avar's support, we may be able to put a stop to this.
That is all, for now. How do you know it's Theos I seek?
Because you have seen his face, and that makes it a simple matter for me to see it. You even happened to catch him in his ceremonial garb, it seems. Must have been a special occasion.
Indeed. Farewell.
Try your best not to die out there.
You as well. The Skybreaker. Road of Wind and Thunder, mirror item, expires in 1 day, duration 1 turn. For years, an aged wizard has been seen traveling up and down northwest coast of Dyewood, performing experiments in the middle of terribly violent storms. Locals have never been certain if the wizard is taking advantage of the weather or if she is causing the phenomenon herself. In recent months, the wizard has not been seen, but farmers have reported a dark rolling of clouds passing through the otherwise clear sky. As always, we will assign canon to this. Well, aren't you wearing an exceptional armor? Okay, everyone stay here. Do love how the sword looks in the dark. Right, we have 2 books to read, about the dozens and about the Knights of the Crucible. Scarcely a decade ago, on the Avon Down Bridge, 7 men and 5 women fought violently to protect their homeland. They volunteered for the mission knowing it was up to them, and them alone, to prevent Saint Wildwin from crossing the bridge. They succeeded, even though they lost all but 4 of their numbers in the battle. Wow, that's almost half. Okay, where were we? Wildwin was on the bridge when the Godhammer detonated. The final 4 were lost in the blast, as well as their sacrifice, a testament to their dedication. The Dozens, a group of obscenely formed from the protection of Dyewood, was founded in honor of those men and women. Indeed, these 12 men and women are phenomenally regarded by the dozens as their true founders. Initially the group dedicated itself to protecting Daiwood from invasions, patrolling the border, and tirelessly in search of Redcreans. Forces were grouping for another attack. When that attack never materialized, many of the dozens thought the next threat might come from Ethiopian loyalists living in Daiwood and began to turn their attention within. All new members of the dozens are required to swear an oath to remember the sacrifice of their founders and remain vigilant against the Redcreans and any followers of Eothas. To this end, worshippers of Eothas are roundly harassed by the dozens. The midst of this group may be hard to some to understand, as any fanatical devotion can sometimes overshadow their ideas, but the original dozen, knowing sacrifice their lives sometimes overdown the ideas, lies for Daiwood. From the dozens perspective, how can new members of the dozens any less committed to their country's welfare? What better way could there be to honor their founders? The dozens are not a large group, but what they lack in size they might make up for in fervent devotion to their cause and gift for gaining ear of commoners. This makes them force to be reckoned with, and there is no more influential group in the shaping of discourse surrounding Wilden's legacy. A small but very vocal minority of extremists in the group are calling for a new war with Redcreans. Talks of purging the Daiwoods of all the followers of Eothas is also being touted. More recent, they have begun to see the practice of animancy as a possible cause for the legacy, and they have taken to the streets of Defiance Bay and the dirt roads of many distant settlements to make their case for the general public. Some point this as one source of the recent surge in vigilantism and violence in the country. If the blacksmith fails, the armor fails. If the armor fails, the soldier dies. Orlon Cinderhold, first guildmaster of the Crucible Knights. The Knights of the Crucible have one of the most fascinating and rich histories in all of Eora. Currently holding a position of incredible influence group in Daiwood, they come from humble beginnings. There may not be a single person in all of Daiwood who knows exactly how much they owe to the Knights. The group has existed for years, long before they even came to be known as Knights. They started as a group of blacksmiths, led by Orlon Cinderhold, who came together to form a guild. Orlon felt the imperative and the members of the Unify, sharing their knowledge throughout their guild in order to keep the skills and techniques of theirs they had spent their lives perfecting. He called the guild the Crucible, insisting that though their work was used to destruction, they should always be remembered as creators. They would be known as the verse and standard fire to deliver new form into the world, forged in the fires, all of the stronger for the tribulation. Orlon began as a veteran of many battles, knew the importance of impeccable made armor and weaponry. He also espoused the necessity for members of the guild to be trained in martial combat. The only true way to make a proper suit of armor is to be the one who must wear it. Orlon led the guild for years, instituting a policy that any man who wanted to join must not only be skilled blacksmith, but also take the time to learn how to hold himself in battle. He added a training group to their guild hall, and there was a secrecy in minute of daylight that didn't see members out of the field, honing their fighting technique. Because of this, the guild earned the nickname Knights of the Crucible. They became de facto militia for the Daiwood, an honorable group that many turned to help. They were known to be the fair, ethical, and quick to respond. The knights chose Abaddon as their patron, dedicated their works to his name. To honor him, they incorporated his symbols into their own and wore it on their arms. Many of the knights took this honor further, regardless of what material suit of armor was made from something or the right arm was made with iron, celebrating Abaddon's Moncare, the Iron Arm. Both these traditions are followed by some of the knights till this day. The knight's smithing skill led them to be known throughout the land as the premier artisans of the craft, leading people to call any item of exquisite quality of the crucible. Their training and dedication truly came into play during the War of Defiance, locally known as Harwood's Rebellion. Auron, knowing the importance of winning the war, sent out a call. All able-bodied knights were to join the militia. They quickly proved invaluable on the cause and helped turn the tide of the rebellion. This was particularly true in the Battle of Defiance Bay. Adamant had already been lost in previous battle, and morale for the Dawood militia was falling. While the help of Glamphatian Astrogoths and the knights were able to rout the imperial forces and secure victory for Dawood, the new duke, grateful for the help and knowing that without the knights the Dawoodians would never have survived, made a decree. The knights would thenceforth be welcomed into the duke's castle and become his official royal guard. In recent years the crucible aspect has fallen by their wayside in favor of the knights. The requirement of their members be perfectionists in both smithing and martial combat has loosened to the point that anyone who applies is guaranteed entrance, even if these possess little to no smithing experience. This is an allegation that is vehemently denied by the knights. Right, so this is where I'm going to end the episode. Thank you all for joining me, and I'm going to see you all next time. Goodbye.